GIMP is back. Now wait, before you close the video because you think this is another finally a free Photoshop piece. Let me finish the sentence. GIMP is back at exactly the moment when the world stopped caring about desktop image editors. And in this video I want to explain why that is not a tragedy. It is the best thing that could have happened to it. Let's start with a file from 1998, a small company's logo, drawn in GIMP, saved as XCF. And 28 years later, the latest version of GIMP still opens it, pixel for pixel, identical. The team tells this story with pride, and they are right. This is rare in software, but the same sentence says something else between the lines, because that format is almost 30 years old, and the software that uses it spent more than a decade barely moving. Today, for the first time since 1997, GIMP is changing its native format, and this is not a technical footnote. It is the symptom of a project that after years of stagnation seems to have been reborn. And the real question is not whether it is reborn. It is reborn to do what in a market heading somewhere else entirely. So let's do the math because the numbers speak for themselves. GIMP 2.8 ships in 2012, 2.10 ships in 2018, 6 years, 3.0 ships in March 2025, another 7 years, 13 years for 2 releases. And meanwhile, the port to GTK3, a library, the GNOME world already considered old when GIMP finally adopted it, stayed in development for almost a decade. Now this is not a fault, it is a condition. GIMP is not a product, it is a volunteer project with a handful of developers paid through donations, no marketing department, no roadmap handed down by a CEO. But the result for the user was software that looked frozen in time while everything around it changed and people noticed. Because for years, every comparison article, every forum thread, every best free Photoshop alternative list carried the same footnote. GIMP is powerful, but the interface is stuck in 2005 and development moves at a glacial pace. And that reputation did real damage. Newcomers tried it once, bounced off, never came back, and projects like Krita, born later and with a narrower focus, overtook it in perceived momentum. And then something happens. 3.0 in March 2025, 3.2 in March 2026, 1 year later, with non-destructive link layers, vector layers, SVG export, and now in August a development update describing 3.4 and already hinting at 3.6, from one release every 6 years to one every year. That is the news. And the new format is just its most visible part. Because XCF is a binary format born in 1997, and to save a project GIMP rewrites the entire file, every single time, with a small image you never notice, with a large project, dozens of layers, non-destructive filters, it becomes a problem. And with the features on the way, multi-page documents and animation, it becomes a wall. The new format follows a structure anyone who uses LibreOffice knows without knowing it. XML inside a zip archive. And the advantage is concrete. You update only the part of the file that changed, instead of rewriting everything. You autosave without freezing the interface. You inspect the contents with standard tools. And here I have to be honest, because GIMP arrives late on this too. OpenRaster, the open format designed precisely for exchange between free editors, has been zipped XML since 2006. Krita has used it for years. GIMP knew this, and for almost 20 years chose to stay on XCF. So now it changes its mind, and good. But let's not call it innovation, let's call it deferred maintenance, finally done properly. One choice though is right, and it needs saying. XCF is not going away. It will stay loadable in every future version, but new features will go exclusively into the new format. And that is the correct way to run a transition. Nobody loses their files, but nobody has an excuse not to migrate. And one more detail, which sounds small and is not, GIMP is also getting native file chooser dialogues on every platform, which means that on Windows and Mac OS, the save dialog will finally look like the rest of the operating system. And for 20 years, that single dialog was the first thing a new user saw, and the first thing that told them this software came from somewhere else. So fixing it is not a feature, it is an apology, and a welcome one. The format is not the only thing. Non-destructive editing, introduced in 3.0, now extends to layer masks and non-raster layers. The gradient tool gains an editable filter stack. The MyPaint brush gets spectral blending, which simulates the mixing of physical pigments, so yellow plus blue makes green, not a muddy yellow. And this feature came from a brand new contributor, Cassidy Grogan. which in a project that suffered for years from a shortage of hands may be the most important signal of all. And then there is PSD. The team says it received so much work on Photoshop compatibility from so many people that it deserved its own section. Text layers that stay editable, layer styles imported from Photoshop descriptors, metadata exportable to TIFF and JPEG. And let's pause on this for a second, because here is the interesting contradiction. GIMP spent 20 years refusing with a certain pride the idea of being a Photoshop clone, and now the heaviest work in this release is precisely talking to Photoshop better. And this is not betrayal, it is realism. Because the world of image editing moved in a direction that favors no desktop editor, free or proprietary. Think about it. Anyone who needs a quick touch-up opens Photopea in the browser or Canva or the built-in tool on their phone. Anyone doing interface design uses Figma, which lives online. And anyone who needs an image from scratch, more and more often, does not edit it at all, they generate it. So the market for traditional desktop editors, the market GIMP has always lived in, is shrinking. And Adobe itself knows this, which is why it pushes everything toward the cloud and generative AI. And the question becomes fair. Is GIMP finally becoming modern software at exactly the moment when the category modern desktop editing software stops being the center of the world? My answer is yes, and that is fine, because a shrinking mass market is not a vanishing need. People working in print, serious photography, illustration, production pipelines still need a tool that runs locally, no subscription, no model deciding which pixels you are allowed to touch, no file living on a server that can shut down one day. And that niche, in recent years, has grown larger, not smaller, precisely because everything else migrated to the cloud. GIMP does not need to win the race against Canva. It needs to be the place you go when Canva is not enough, or when you do not want Canva to know what you are doing. And for the first time in over a decade, it looks like it is built by people who understand that this niche deserves serious software, a serious format, a serious release cadence. And there is a second argument, which matters to anyone watching this channel, because every one of those online tools is a dependency on someone else's server, someone else's pricing, someone else's terms of service. Figma was nearly bought by Adobe. Canva changes its plans whenever it likes. The AI generators train on your uploads, or they say they don't, and you take their word for it. While a free desktop editor with an open, documented, inspectable format is the only one of these where the answer to what happens to my work in 10 years is actually known. And the 1998 logo is the proof. So the logo from 1998 will still open, but the projects you make from here on will live in a new format, built for things GIMP never knew how to do. Multiple pages, animation, incremental saves, and 10 years of delay are not recovered in one release. But the direction, this time, is the right one. And in an ecosystem where the future already looks written, online, by subscription, generated, a free editor that starts running again is news worth 8 minutes. If this kind of analysis interests you, you know where to find the other videos. See you in the next video, and may Linux be with you.